Islamic Caliphate and quotes a founder of Hamas in his signature when he posts on Islamic forums on the web. And using the name of the IFE, he's threatened a local Muslim. A young Bengali woman who had the temerity to start up a dating service for Muslims, Abu Talha, was not pleased.
I am asking you kindly to stop these activities, as it goes against the teachings of Islam. We shouldn't stoop to the levels of the Westerner. Let me remind you that I have a huge network of brothers and sisters who would be willing to help me take this further, but I wish that you would listen to my words now and stop the service. If by tomorrow you haven't changed your mind, then the campaign will begin. Like I said, I can take this further. P.S. I'm not threatening you, I'm just pressuring you to stop what you do.
He only stopped when she told him that she'd notified a lawyer and the police.
This extreme puritanical political perspective. So actually you have this very divisive political ideology operating in your communities. And you've mainstreamed them by giving them this legitimacy which they didn't have before.
Could it lead to conflict with other communities?
Oh, it always leads to conflict with other communities, because naturally it's going to lead to intra-communal conflict, because other people are not going to be religious enough.
Muslims.
Other Muslims are not going to be religious enough, let alone other non-Muslim communities.
One of the many channels of wider IFE influence is its radio programme.
MCR Online, Muslim Community Radio.
Azad Ali is a star presenter.
Democracy, if it means that, at the expense of not implementing the Sharia, no one's going to agree with that. Of course no one agrees with that.
Mr. Ali is the Community Affairs Coordinator of the IFE. He's posted regularly on the blog which it hosts. In 2008, he praised a key mentor of Osama bin Laden, calling him one of the few Muslims who promote the understanding of the term jihad in its comprehensive glory, as both a doctrine of self-purification and of warfare. Mr. Ali is a civil servant and was suspended from his job for 6 months after this controversial posting. In January, he lost a libel action over another part of this blog. The judge ruled that Mr. Ali was taking the position that the killing of American or British troops in Iraq would be justified.
We're all Islamists in the studio.
What do you think about working for the Khilafah?
The Khilafah or Caliphate is an Islamic superstate ruled by clerics under Sharia law. Many Islamist thinkers argue that it should start in Muslim-majority lands but expand afterwards to cover the world.
That's something that you should be doing, yes.
Definitely, yeah.
You have to, man.
The IFE told dispatches.
The IFE does not support violent jihad, including attacks on British soldiers in Iraq or Sharia law in the UK. The IFE does not support or promote the idea that the Caliphate should extend to non-Muslim countries.
Azad Ali's influence extends far beyond his radio phone-in. In this document, the Metropolitan Police agreed to treat him and his IFE-linked group, the Muslim Safety Forum, as the principal body in relation to Muslim community security and safety. And he was, until January, head of the Civil Service Islamic Society. The police are not the only organisation of the state to have worked with the hardliners from the IFE. There's a government fund called Preventing Violent Extremism. The theory was to boost moderates and marginalise extremists. But almost £250,000 of this money has gone to the East London Mosque, the London Muslim Centre, and to other IFE-linked organisations. Paul Richards says the policy has backfired.
If you're part of a revolutionary organisation and you hold these views as a part of a fundamental canon of belief, having a chat and a sort of cosy cup of tea with a minister is not going to change your mind. But being around that table inside a government department, what it does do is strengthen your hand with your own community. It gives a platform to people who actually are off the scale and shouldn't be in the room at all.
Although the IFE claim to speak for the Muslim community as a whole, and their members have access to government, the fact is they don't even represent the Muslim community in Tower Hamlets. This is a Bangladeshi area, but the IFE are the descendants of a fundamentalist party, Jamaat-e-Islami, that opposed the very creation of Bangladesh. Ansar Ahmed Ullah has lived and worked in Tower Hamlets for 30 years. He campaigns against Jamaat-e-Islami and its presence in Britain.
They're gaining foothold over the whole community and gaining a sense of respectability as well. The government probably thinks that they are the spokesperson of the Muslim community.
But why is that? I mean, do they just not know any better, or...?
It's a mystery to us, especially those of us who have been campaigning for years.
So the IFE continues to represent Muslims in Tower Hamlets and beyond, and their national profile is growing, thanks in part to their role in the Muslim Council of Britain. This group calls itself the most representative body of British Muslims, but it too is increasingly dominated by the IFE.
The MCB's Secretary-General, Mohammed Abdul Bari, is a former president and trustee of the IFE, as well as the current chairman of the East London Mosque. IFE activist Azad Ali chairs the MCB's membership committee. In a statement to dispatches, the IFE rejects our allegations of entryism or that it's infiltrating British political parties. They say,
"There is no IFE policy or strategy which directs its members to join Tower Hamlets Labour Party. We do not accept that it has influenced or sought to influence key funding decisions."
The IFE also said that Abu Talha was a recent member who
has no authority whatsoever to speak for the IFE, and his words do not reflect the IFE's views.
Around Britain, the IFE's network of grassroots groups is growing. The Oldham Muslim Centre, modelled on the East London Mosque complex, and the IFE Centre in Bradford, Newcastle, where the IFE recently advertised for an imam, plus 32 other places in Britain. And they claim branches in 14 other European countries. But as the IFE goes international, in its heartland of Tower Hamlets, a backlash is starting. For the first time on television, non-Islamist mainstream Muslims in Tower Hamlets are fighting back.
They are using the name of IFE, and they're using the House of Allah, the House of God, the East London Mosque, as the shield. And the ordinary Muslim brothers, they go there to perform their prayers. They don't know. They are not quite aware about the politics behind it.
We've spoken to many leaders of the Tower Hamlets Muslim community, people like Harmuz Ali, who are furious at the way the IFE is spreading its influence and claiming to speak for them.
IFE doesn't have the sole license for Islam or promoting Islam or working for Muslims.
I think the communities, are almost pushed into the wall, and even myself, pushed into the wall. I can't go back. So
people have been pushed too far?
Too far, yeah.
If somebody wants to become a member of IFE, good luck to him. Somebody wants to become a member of National Front, you can't stop, I can't stop them. It's their right. But at least they know what they're doing. And this is what I think everybody has a responsibility, bringing out the total picture, the truth, and present to the people.
Clear signals from government would help.
By saying this particular organisation at this time, under this leadership, is beyond the pale, would help bolster the very many moderates and more mainstream voices and give them a better platform.
But that's not happening. The state doesn't seem willing or able to tackle this. The IFE and its allies are fond of saying that any attack on them is an attack on Islam. But it is Muslims themselves who are taking the lead and speaking out.
I don't want my children to grow up in a society which is being segregated in the name of religion or in the name of culture.
We need to stop funding institutions that undermine every single civic and civil institution that we have in our society.
I think a lot of politicians understand the issue, but they're too scared to touch it because they're scared of being labelled as Islamophobic or anti-Muslim.
How can that position be changed? How can you give those politicians the courage to stand up against it?
By standing up against it, just by doing it. The more politicians stand up against Islamist type of politics, the more Islamists understand that they are not welcome by politicians or even by Muslim communities.